Are you enjoying your stay at Fredbear's Family Diner? Well, eat away. Other customers are waiting and enjoying their pizza. You enjoying your pizza today? I'm sure it's lovely and Phantogeusia just like every other.
Man, shut the fuck up. You know, I'm actually a guy under this costume. The guy who runs this fucking business. Shit, yeah, me convinced. Thought you was clown.
Excuse me?
No, I deserve a little respect here. I gave you this fucking restaurant. I gave you that pizza, you know. I had to work my ass off in the kitchen for that shit. Well, if you want respect, you should respect your customers first. Yeah, I want respect from my fucking customers. There's a girl. Walked outside. We kicked her ass out of there. She was being annoying. Girl. When? I think like 10 minutes ago or something. Oh, I got a pizza. Got it? Got it? Got it? You know, I would help him, because this pizza is so good and chewy. You don't feel like it, you know? You just don't feel like it. Does anybody know if you guys have any arcades? I love to play Pac-Man. Maybe not, huh? Or not. Somebody help! Anybody! Please! Can't stop. What do you keep doing out there? What's this up? Oh my god. Fucking child. Oh fuck. I'm gonna go see if they have Pac-Man.
How you doing? Today I'm going to be doing another theory, this time on Five Nights at Freddy's. Now this theory is not going to be the usual theory that you're used to. It's not going to have all these cool edits and all that crap. It's not going to be about the games or about a storyline or something that's been talked about a lot. I'm going to talk outside of the box. I'm going to do a theory based on something that I have been putting together from little hidden cues here and there. The thing about this theory is that nobody would think twice about this theory. Nobody would even come up with this theory. Now, something that's been going around for a long time is that Ballora is possessed by the mother of the Afton family, which I think is a load of crap. Now, there's no evidence to prove that Ballora is possessed. And hypothetically, let's say Ballora is possessed by Afton's wife. If she is possessed by Afton's wife, then why is Ballora not in charge of Molten Freddy? Why is Funtime Freddy in charge of the Molten Freddy blob? So Ballora, I don't think, can be possessed. And those voice lines or those voice cues are just, you know, vague. Now, how I came up with this crazy theory that you're about to hear was something random. I remember I was watching Saw 2, and I was watching the scene where Eric Matthews, he's ripping up a bunch of papers, he's slamming them on the desk in front of John Kramer, He's like, you know, I'm ripping up your work, what are you gonna do about it type of shit. And John Kramer, you know, he's doing the smart thing, the smart villain thing, and he's just running his mouth.
Sort of person whose wife leaves him and whose son hates him.
That stuck with me. That line really got me thinking. Wait a minute. What if that is what happened to William Afton? What if his wife did leave for another man? Somebody more interesting, somebody more cunning, somebody who could actually take family responsibility, raise children properly, be a family man. And then I got to thinking, well, how could that be? How could William Afton's wife cheat on him to be with Henry? How would that be possible? How could that be? And so randomly, you know, I was reading the Silver Eyes graphic novel because I wanted to see how good it was compared to the original novel, and it was not that good. But there was one distinct character that stood out to me. You actually get to see an image of Henry's wife at one point. And when I looked at her, I made an immediate comparison to Clara from The Immortal and the Restless. I just want you to look at this really quick. Look at that and tell me they don't look the same. Now, I think this is intentional. I don't think this is unintentional. I think that the animators are, you know, very similar in the style, especially given that Vlad is supposed to represent William Afton and then the baby is supposed to represent Michael Afton. Then it would make a lot of sense if Clara broke up with William and then got with Henry. So I had to think about, okay, why would that be the case? How would that be the case? How would that play into the role of everything? And then, you know, I started to think about it, and I started to dig in. I started to realize, wait, William Afton, he was some kind of engineer scientist, right? The man was trying to figure out how to prove his theory, prove his point of that you could become immortal through remnant. And so I had to think about, why would William Afton go down the path of killing children just to get remnant? Now, I don't think that William Afton would just know automatically that, oh, I gotta kill kids in order to make kids be immortal through the life of the animatronics. I don't think that's how that would work. I think there had to be something that led him to that path, because I don't think William Afton would just go jump straight to that path. So I had to think about his victims. I had to count them one by one. I went through the 5 main victims, you know, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy. And then I thought about the marionette. So it's been confirmed, marionette is Charlie. And I had to think about, wait a minute, why did Afton kill Charlie? Why did Afton target Henry's daughter? Because those two, they were best friends. They were co-workers. Why the hell would Afton just turn? I don't think this man would just become evil overnight. So there had to be something that led him into madness. But what could lead him and drive him into insanity? And so I thought about The Immortal and the Restless. I thought about, okay, let's say The Immortal and the Restless was real. Let's say this is exactly how it happened. Afton, he got hooked up with Clara. I'm gonna call her Clara for this. Afton and Clara, they hooked up, they got together, and then Afton, he accidentally had a baby. He didn't mean to have a baby. And so now he's trying to break out of that. He's like, oh, no, I can't take responsibility. I can't have a child. I'm not a good caretaker or son. But, you know, Afton and Clara, they're all about pleasure. They're all about loving each other, and so they make out. But what about the child? And, you know, it was supposed to be led up to season 2 of The Immortal and the Restless, but we never got the answer. So what happened to little Michael Afton? Well, I would think that Michael Afton would have gotten, you know, abused or perhaps neglected by Afton because, well, Afton didn't want him to begin with. So we have one kid that he neglected. And then, of course, we know that Afton and Clara, they would have another kid, Elizabeth. Now, when I was thinking about the kids, I was thinking about, okay, he has Michael, he has Elizabeth, and he has the crying child, which is dubbed Evan because of like one of the Fazbear stories, I don't know. And then I got to thinking, you know who the crying child looks like? The crying child looks like Charlie. And you know what else is funny? What else is interesting? In the Silver Eyes was originally going to be the untold story of Five Nights at Freddy's. And what happened in the Silver Eyes? Sammy, Charlie's twin brother, gets kidnapped by William Afton. And so now I'm really trying to theorize, okay, let's say that maybe that is true. Maybe Sammy was real. Sammy and Charlie are the 2 twin children of Henry. Afton steals one of the twins and then keeps him hostage. And then I got to thinking, wait a minute, FNAF 4, that's exactly what's happening. The crying child is being held against his will by William Afton. So now I had to think about a motivation. Why would Afton do this? Why would Afton tear into Henry? And then I thought back to that image. Clara looked like Henry's wife. So I got to thinking, after 2 children, what if Clara did not see William Afton as a suitable father figure? And what if she cheated on him with Henry? And then they had 2 kids. they started their own family. William and Clara are no longer together. So I then started to think, okay, wait a minute. If Afton was never a family man, then why did he have Michael and Elizabeth still under his wing? And then I thought, what if he was vengeful of Clara for cheating on him? Because as we clearly saw, Vlad, he doesn't care about the kids, but he cares about Clara. So what if he got pissed off over the fact that he found out that Henry and Clara are now together? What if that made him vengeful? What if that made him want to take away what means the most to them? And then that's how I came to this theory. If Clara, Afton's wife, cheated on him, got with Henry, they had 2 kids, Sammy and Charlie. Afton would hold the other 2 kids for his own. But then, of course, that would lead to a child custody battle. But we also get, in Security Breach, tapes that specifically discuss this very thing.
I'm talking about the custody battle between your mum and your dad. Your dad didn't play fair, did he? He used to make your mum look bad in court. I suppose I don't need you to tell me it felt bad to have a parent scare you into saying things that weren't true. He manipulated you.
And what we know in those tapes is that one of the kids eventually spoke up, and it's eventually what led to Afton winning the custody battle. So I had to think, how would Afton win this custody battle? What would Afton do to try and win this custody battle to make him succeed? And then I thought, what if he framed Henry and Clara to show that they're not suitable parents, so that Afton could be seen as the more suitable parent and that he takes their children away from them? And then it all started to come into play, and then I'm thinking like, okay, wait a minute. So that's why Afton would likely want to create the sister location animatronics. Because if he creates the sister location animatronics, then he could lure Afton's 2 kids away from their household, and it could be seen as Henry is neglectful, Clara is neglectful, and they didn't know what happened to their kids because they neglected them. And then Afton could win custody and bring the kids back to him. And I'm thinking, oh, that's exactly why he would build the animatronics, because that's exactly what the animatronics are built to do. They're built to capture kids and bring them back to the restaurant, to his establishment, to his robotics. So now I'm really invested. I'm like, okay, this has to be it. It makes so much sense. So, all right, so let's say this wasn't enough. It wasn't working. Afton tried to get the animatronics to take Sammy, to get Charlie, but every time it was failing. So what could happen next? And I thought, all right, what if Afton staged a kidnapping, and instead of it being a kidnapping, he could stage it as the kid ran away from Henry? So I think that's what he did. So Afton would then kidnap Sammy, one of the 2 twins, brings him back, holds the kid hostage. So now obviously the kid, the kid wants to go back to home, wants to go back to his real parents. And then I realized that's exactly what happens. In the FNAF 6 minigame, Pizzeria Simulator's minigame, we get that very scene where we find out that Sammy or Evan, whatever the crying child's name is, runs away. And he constantly runs away. This is not the first time that he ran away from home. So I'm thinking, okay, so this kid has run away numerous amount of times. And obviously I would think that it's because he wants to go back home. Now something to note about Silver Eyes as well is that Silver Eyes specifically states that Charlie or Sammy would always know to go to Fredbear Family Diner. So I wouldn't think for a second that Sammy, Evan, or whatever the crying child's name is, would do the same thing. He'd go back to the restaurant. So I'm thinking now, okay, so how the hell can we go from here? How the hell is Afton going to convince that the kid ran away rather than got kidnapped, and so that it doesn't frame him? So now I'm really like thinking, okay, how would he be able to do this? And I thought, what if he framed Henry for a murder? Not just any murder, the murder of his own daughter. And so what does Afton do? Afton goes, he sees a prime opportunity, and he kills Charlie. Throws her in the back alleyway. And we know that some kind of Freddy was serving up the kids some cupcakes or whatever the hell it was. And we also know that Henry specifically designed the marionette, the security puppet, to watch over Charlie. Now, why would Henry design the security puppet to watch over Charlie? In case that Charlie gets kidnapped as well. Because Sammy got kidnapped, the crying child got kidnapped before. So of course, he would create an animatronic to protect Charlie from that same fate, but this time Afton strike because some brats covered up the puppet and prevented the puppet from saving Charlie. So then of course we know what happens with Charlie. Afton would go home, and then he would see that again, the crying child ran away. But this time he's gonna regret it because I know exactly what's going to happen. So imagine this, the crying child runs away, runs back to the establishment, and what is the crying child going to find at the establishment? Charlie's dead body. Now what else? Henry, who's working there, who also we know to be wearing the Fredbear suit, he wouldn't realize Charlie's gone, the puppet's gone, and he would go looking for her. So he would find her in the back alleyway. And who else would show up at the exact same time? The crying child. And what is the crying child going to see? Fredbear, his father, standing over his dead sister's corpse. Now this is just a hypothetical thing, but I'm so convinced by this because think about it. If the crying child sees that, then the crying child's going to be afraid of not only just Henry, but Fredbear as well. So now we set up FNAF 4 and why the crying child would be terrified of Fredbear and friends, of Fredbear specifically, while also setting up how Afton would possibly win a child custody battle. So if Afton manages to get the crying child to see that, what is he going to reinstate to the crying child in court? Remember what you saw that night. And what happens in FNAF 4? We get the crying child always talking over his plush Fredbear's radio, with Afton talking on the other end, and we know it's Afton because the other plush Fredbear is in the sister location area, in that office that Afton works at. Because why would he need to remind the crying child that? So that the crying child could say that in court. That's why I think the cheating mother theory has to play into effect, because this one theory brought me down this rabbit hole, no pun intended, has single-handedly helped me solve the entire Five Nights at Freddy's story, and I'm not joking. In fact, the next video that you're going to see uploaded, other than the soundtrack of course, is going to be the entire timeline, except for Help Wanted, Special Delivery, and Security Breach. Yeah, those can go fuck themselves. Those take place after Ultimate Custom Night, and the story I'm focusing on ends at Pizzeria Simulator and Ultimate Custom Night, so I'm not going to go into that pot of worms. But this is what I believe to be the cheating mother theory. Now if you want to hear how I think it plays into the entire narrative, the whole story, how it all plays out, tune in to the next video. But of course, who knows, it's just a theory at the end of the day. MatPat, he's the best at the theories, but me, I'm really convinced this has got to be the most accurate theory yet. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you think this is accurate, if you think this is true, how accurate do you think it could be, and what you think about it. What theories y'all got? I'm curious too. Anyway, arrivederci, bitches, motherfucker.